road? Is it my road? Or maybe about a square inch of it. If I've taken all the money I've put into taxes, I could probably own about a square inch. Is it your road? Well, you get about a square inch too. Do we share nicely? Let's think about that. In 1988, passing by Division Street was about 19,000 cars a day. Out of that, it had about just under 1% accidents. So that's not too bad. 1% sounds pretty good. Now 1% of 19,000, that's 19 deaths. That's so good. Now today, well, let's say 2010, because you know how governments are, they never get the numbers up right away. We do about 42,000 people driving past Division Street exit. And the same percentage though, still just under 1% have accidents. Still sounds pretty good, unless you think that it's now actually 3 times what it was in 1988. There's 3 times as many accidents because there's 3 times as much traffic, but it's still just under 1%. Now, let's look at how much traffic that really is. If I put a ball for every 10,000 cars into your hand, in 1988 you'd have like 2 marbles in your hand. That's pretty easy to manage. They kind of sit in the palm of your hand quite nicely. Now, if I put 5 marbles in your hand, well, if they're little marbles, it's going to fit, but if we got big marbles and little marbles, they're all going to touch. Oops. So what happens on a highway then? When you got 2 cars on the highway, there's lots of room. But when you've got 2 cars and a semi-trailer, it starts getting a little more crowded. And depending on the time of day, it could be as much as 4 semi-trailers and 1 car. Because do you realize that we're like halfway between Montreal and Toronto? So the guys that leave at the end of the workday, leave the warehouse in Toronto heading towards Montreal, get here at about 8 o'clock at night, between 8 and midnight. And the guys coming from Montreal finish loading up the ships, and they're allowed on the roads after rush hour, so that's after 6 o'clock. They're getting here at 9 to midnight. This is got to be the best place to meet a semi. Think about it. You've got all the semis going from Toronto into Montreal Harbor, and all the trucks full from Montreal Harbor heading to Toronto. Now, doesn't it make it a lot more sense if we sent all that traffic by train? Oh no, you can't do that. Can't get it there in my warehouse when I want it. I want it by truck. I'll pay for it. But that's you pay for it. You pay for it. You can move a boxcar train for the same price. You can move a tractor trailer. Trains are bigger, but they're longer. Have you seen the new thing that snuck out of the States? We now have multi-wagon semis. There are now 2, and then I saw one the other day. They snuck a 3rd one behind. Now 3 trailers long. They're bringing those out of the States. Well, if you were in Australia, they'd be 18 trailers long. We won't go there yet. But you're sharing the road with these people. When you think you're going to pass a truck and you go out, you go, ah! 3 trailers long. Now I hope your little putt-putt's got more than a 1500cc engine in it. Because if you're on a 2-lane highway like most of the Trans-Canada, and you're going to pass this guy, you better hope that nobody in the next 2 hours is coming anywhere close to you. Now on the 401, it's not too bad. You got 2 lanes, except in winter. Winter. The Canadian way of saying, God, thank you for making me stronger. Because everybody knows a challenge makes you stronger. So a Canadian winter, if you can drive in the Canadian winter, just think what you can do down in Texas. Actually, driving in Texas is fun for a Canadian because we don't care if it snows. Texans, they don't know what to do with it. So if you want to have an entertaining evening, go down to Texas when they're talking about snow. Dallas, Fort Worth, great place to go. You get one of the motels along the highway, sit up there in the balcony, nice cold beer, because Canadians, we'd be sitting out there in our shirt sleeves because it's only like 28 Fahrenheit and it's still warm. Texans are all there, they're bundled up and everything. You see them get in their pickup trucks, and before they leave the parking lot, they've already had an accident. So Canadians are stronger because of our Canadian winters. We learn how to drive in snow. It takes us a little while to learn though. Have you noticed that? And it shows up in our insurance rates. Because if you're under 25 and not married and you're male, you've already ransomed your first 2 children to get your car insured. Because of course, if you're under 25, it's going to be a sports car. Or it's going to be a big pickup truck. Well, yeah. So the insurance companies already know that if you're under 25, you're more likely to have an accident, so they charge you through the arms and legs and your children so that you can be insured in your vehicle. You get to be 25, they give you a little grace, you get 25 and married, then you're cool. Or you were, until they designed front-wheel drive cars. And they found out that, oh, aren't they expensive to fix? But that has to do with sharing the road. Because if I'm taking my space, now my space varies depending on the distance and speed that I'm traveling, really the speed and the weight of my vehicle, because if I gotta stop before a certain point, I've gotta have enough distance in front of me to make sure I can stop. They say usually, it's supposed to be a minimum of 3 car lengths for every 10 kilometers over 30 kilometers or something like that. It's to give you enough time to react. And the older you get, the slower you react, so the more distance you're supposed to have. Right now, I should be able, from here to Cannon, operating, to have enough space in front of me to make sure I slow down before I hit anything. But it's the guy behind me I'm more worried about than the guy in front of me, because I know what he's doing. If he's fishtailing or if he's hitting his brakes, I know what he's doing. I don't know what the guy behind me is doing. The only way I can ever find out how close the guy behind me is if I touch my brakes. If I hear a loud screeching noise, then I know he was too close. So all I've got to say to you is, if you're sharing the road, don't be the guy behind, be the guy in front. Because if you're in front and you hear that noise, you do have one thing you can do. Leave.